Welcome back, my fellow motorized bike riders. All right, it is Mother's Day 2023. So let me start off by thanking all of the mothers and wishing them a happy Mother's Day for all the things they've put up with us throughout the years, taking us to pick us up with our friends, running us to and from school, all of our school functions, all of our extracurricular activities growing up. We just want to thank all the mothers for putting up with that throughout all the years. All right, now to the video at hand. Today we're going to discuss my personal opinion about spring tensioner pulleys for our drive chains. I've been meaning to put one on my 4-stroke bike, and I'll tell you why as we move along throughout the video. I put one on my 2-cycle bike a long time ago, but for completely different reasons. It's easier to change your tire. You don't have to adjust the solid chain tensioner mount and readjust it if you happen to get a flat tire, and or it keeps the chain properly snug and tight, if you will, for a smoother ride in general, and especially going down hills and up hills. If you don't have one and you try one, you'll understand what I'm talking about. It keeps the chain from being so jerky. Now this one, being that it's a completely different setup with its own little centrifugal clutch in the gearbox, 4 cycles are just naturally jerky when taking off because of the centrifugal clutch. It's just the nature of how they are. I've tried different clutches, different springs. It's always about the same. You can change when and how it happens, but generally it's just how the nature of the setup is. And I noticed myself when taking off, even at a moderate pace, my chain is a little jerky. When I say that, it's kind of flopping around, which ups the chances of it derailing and me out riding around having to put my chain on. It hasn't happened, but I don't want it to happen, so I'm going to be precautionary, and I'm going to put my spring tensioner on there and get rid of the standard idler pulley down there. Yes, it works adequately, but I'm a person that doesn't like to have problems, so I'm going to head these off the best I can. Other than that, that's really the only complaint I have about the 4-stroke bike setup. I am fond of them. Each has its pros and cons, but this video is not about that today, so we'll cover that on another day. But we're going to get this over to the shop and install my frame spring mount tensioner. I am partial to those. Well, being on the 4-stroke, you can't really put the spring tensioner they offer for the 2 strokes on the gearbox because it will not work at all. But for those of you who are new to the spring tensioner world, they do make one that mounts up to here. It's got the little pulley right there and rides on the chain, which you can't see behind my trusty chain guard up there rather than back here. I am partial to this style back here because I like a little something to control the feed back to my rear sprocket and not have a whole distance of chain that can flop around and derail from the bottom as I'm riding and the chain is feeding itself through the bottom. My choice on this one is made for me, but thank God I prefer that tensioner over the engine mount ones anyway. So without a further ado, I'm going to mount a camera up best I can and to show you a little demonstration, because on every video I do, I try to give you a cause and effect of why I do things. So give me a moment and we're going to see if I can't get a camera mounted on here, or I'm going to have to hold this camera to show you what I'm talking about during acceleration with the 4-cycle setup. right then, as you can see, I've loaded her up, taking it to the shop / laboratory, and we're going to change out this bad fellow. Because yes, I could snug it up a little bit more and take the slack out of the chain, but I want a little slack in my chain. But with the spring tensioner, we're going to put on there this bad fellow right here, replace it, and put it on there. Will give me just enough tension on my chain that it's not tight like a guitar string, but yet keep it firm enough so it doesn't have this much play and do all that super vibrating around with our centrifugal clutch that's in here that does a little jerking, if you will, with the old hand motion as you're taking off from a dead stop and getting your weight moving. After you get rolling, it's not so hard on it, but like I said, I want to head off any problems of the chain derailing, getting a handful of grease like I do on my finger while I'm all cleaned up out trying to enjoy riding my trusty 4-stroke bike. As always, without a further ado, let me get this pulley off and get the new one or new version stuck on there and see if that helps with that 4-stroke chain vibration business. I've been wanting to change this over since the weather broke and it hasn't been bitterly cold. But I've been busy and now is my first opportunity to do it, so I have taken the opportunity to do it. I'm glad it's done. And as you can see, my chain doesn't have a lot of flopping activity. It works just like it ought to. Keeps just a little tension on the chain. If I need to change a tire, I could just push that down, walk my chain off, do the repairs that I need to do, push that back down, put my chain on it, let it go. Pretty much self-adjusted. Also, a little bonus I have here, being this is a 4-stroke, I can fire this up on the rack and we can give this a trial run right here on the stand. So let's see if we can't make that happen. Hopefully you can hear me over the engine running. I didn't want to reach over and pull the rope and drop my camera. So I pushed down to get that bad boy started. And then position this light. So I'll probably be standing in front of it. There we go. Took a lot of it out. It's not 100% perfect setup, but it's much better than the solid pulley. Oh, my kill button coming loose. Wasn't that nice? And that happened during transportation on a bike rack. Alright, I'm going to get this thing shut off. Well, let's just unplug it. Maybe. Okay, I'm going to let it run forever. Alright. Yep, right there on the bike rack. Gonna have to reconnect that bad fella. Put a new end on it. Okay. Sometimes things don't go perfectly. What are you gonna do? Anyway, I'll put a new end on that, but that is still a lot better than one solid adjustment and a super bunch of vibrating around while I'm riding around. So if you have a 4-stroke bike, one of these does make a little bit of difference on keeping your chain and a little more adjustment. Okay, so I have ended on that note. Let me get the wire ends out and repair my kill button so I don't have to yank the spark plug boot off every time I want to shut off my bike, because that straight gets on my nerves and I've only had to do it that one time. So until our next exciting video, I'm going to fix a wire end.